Live, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in our beautiful world. Thank you for joining us, for shining the light on our community. And today I have a really very special guest with us today to talk about an amazing thing, or something that's close to my heart, but everyone's heart, which we'll go into very soon. But first, thank you, Marina, for joining us on shining the light on our community. It's a wonderful opportunity where I'd love to shine the light on you and your
Yeah.
beautiful contribution to the world, because now not only are you're known as the happiness guru, which is great, because happiness is it's a thing that, well, it to me it's a foundation of life. It's one of our
Yes, it is.
core qualities, and there's the happiness within. So I love it that you're known as the happiness guru, and you work with people who seek change because their lives broke down, and now they are needing clarity, direction, and guidance to break through to their new purpose, to find the meaning, the fulfillment, and the success, but above all else, happiness. But now, Marina, and I want to know more about your life. But you now an author of a bestseller,
Yes.
your GPS to Happiness.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
It's exciting. So, yeah. So thank you for joining us. So let's first of all let's start to hearing about you. Tell us about you and your journey, and how you got to where you are now in being an author of a best-selling book.
Yeah, thank you for this question because, yes, life is a journey. And what I've discovered through my own stories and also from looking around, and that's why I discovered that all lives have to break down, but not only our own lives, but also the lives of nations, of things, because when they break down, we can break through and something, we let go and something new comes in. For me, my journey started, I was born in Iran to a Dutch mother and a Persian German father. And then we moved to Germany, hence my German accent. And I had 2 glorious years in Paris. I was at the American College in Paris. Then we immigrated to Vancouver. And then I had this calling from childhood on that I would live in New York one day. One day I got a phone call, and this gentleman asked me if I would like to work for his company. And I was, yep, I'm coming. So all by myself, I went to New York, and I never returned other than visiting to Vancouver. And things happened. Life was beautiful. It was wonderful. I met my husband, and it was a great life. And then it all broke down. And what emerged was truly a new me, an empowered me, one that realized that now I had to take charge, I had to take control, and I had to get my family through this. But I also had to discover that there's one thing we can lose in this emergence, and that is happiness, and that is joy. My mother looked at me one day. I was deep in thoughts, and I was overcome by worry and anxiety about the future and the what ifs, all those what ifs. What if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? And she said to me, you know, Marina, what the very worst is that we lost in all of this. And my immediate thought was, what else could be happening to me now? What more is there? And I said, no, Mom, I really have no idea. She said, you. I said, what do you mean? She said, you're not who you are anymore. You are just a shadow. You stopped smiling. You stopped your really bad sarcastic jokes. You're just not you. I miss that the most. Everything else can be replaced, but that is just the worst. For me, that was a click, and I turned it around and I started observing my thoughts. And
Yes,
that brought me to another stage.
yes. Isn't it amazing when we make that decision and we just start to, the first process is starting to observe your thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of the times we don't realize how we've changed, how we've allowed life and all the situations and all the events, all the stuff that happens to us to
Yeah.
affect us, to change us. And
Right.
it takes someone else to go, well, you're no longer the person that you used to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you've just started to observe your thoughts, which is a wonderful thing. Our thoughts make us who we are,
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
who we are. So yeah. So then what?
And it's our attitude. It's
It's our
our
attitude.
attitude that changes the event, because the
Yes.
event is really neutral. Our
Yes.
attitude either makes it positive or negative. And that's what I learned. It just, you might as well, you have to go through this. You might as well go through it positive, enthusiastic, and optimistic, because it's a lighter burden. It really
Yes.
is no longer a burden. The other one, even if you think about it, when you think about it, woof, it pushes you right down. But
Yes.
this lifts you up, empowers you. You go, yes, I can do that.
Yes. Yeah. And isn't it amazing when we have the attitude that we can do things? I was talking to someone yesterday, and what for me, we all have different fears of stuff that have happened. Their thoughts of events that have happened in the past. And I have a fear about being in really, really tall buildings. So one of the things, for me, how do I overcome the fear is just by doing it. Just go in a really tall building and you find that you're really safe. So it's our attitude, and I love how you're saying that. And how have you experienced your life to change and to grow, and all the different situations and all the benefits that you've had since you've been able to join us? And Marina has just dropped. Oh, Marina is back again.
I'm back.
You're back. The wonderful thing of technology is not a problem
Exactly,
and
exactly. There
stuff
we
like.
go.
Yep, you're back. We can't see you yet, but you are there. That now we can see you.
Now
One
we can see that.
good. So I was just saying, I was just asking Marina, what was the next thing? How did your life change by when you started to work on changing your attitude and your
But
thoughts?
it was a question of empowerment. I
Yes.
became, I became, I took on the responsibility and I took control of my life. I was no longer the victim and helpless me and oh poor me, which I rarely did beforehand anyway. But now it became a much more conscious thing. But what also happened was, and again it was my mother's leadership, it was that she said, this burden is too heavy for you to carry alone. She said, it is now time that you must reach out to your spirit guides, to God. You must reach out to the people who went before you, the ones who are protecting you. You have to ask them for help because this is too much. And at first I was a little bit, yeah, right. But then something really woke up in me that I knew all along was there. It was just not the right time. You know how that goes. It's just not right. And now it had to break through. And slowly, it took time. I built up my company. There were many failures. And then finally I started a new business following the old business my husband had had. And that broke down again because, strange enough, shortly before, I read a book written by a nun, and she spoke of a spiritual group, a spiritual church, something like that, where all the people would come together, be they in the academics or in religious or spiritual. And I thought, wow, I want to do that. But then my logical mind said, no, you have a very good business, leave it alone. And I felt it. And I get, no. And I felt it. And I said, no, I told you no. And guess what? Day one, my business was going slowly down and down. I said, I guess they meant it. So I started my journey. And I had to come out of my spiritual closet. It was for me extremely uncomfortable because, it had that woo-woo. And I didn't want the woo-woo, but I thought to myself, okay, either way, they either like you or they don't. I really don't care, but this is who I am.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? You know that. This is, we have to come out.
You've
We
got
have
to,
to sit.
and you've got to live your life authentically.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, as you know, and we know, if you're not living your purpose, then things just don't work. Things just
Exactly.
don't work,
They don't work.
and you're not happy and stuff like
And
that.
also, I believe we made an agreement beforehand.
Yes.
Before we reincarnated, we made an agreement. And a word is a word. A promise is a promise. So, hello.
Yes,
It's
and now it's
time.
time to fulfill that promise. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just like to say hello to everyone who's watching us. We do have a few people watching us, and I'm here talking to the beautiful Marina, all about happiness and how to find that happiness, how to navigate from where we are to a life of living our dreams, of being on purpose and fulfillment. And it's that GPS, plugging in to the GPS to happiness. So I love that. So tell us a little bit about your book and how did that come about?
Well, I always see a roadmap. A gentleman, I saw something on Facebook, and he talked about a blueprint. For me, I first had to look up what the heck is blueprint. I don't know why that was so difficult for me. I said, Then I saw a roadmap. And my first book was already a little bit of a roadmap, getting you from where you are to where you want to be, the life of your dreams. Dream a better dream. And the first book was truly a learning tool. I learned by just not only writing, but publishing and marketing. And as we went along, I could feel another one being emerging. And so I read the book, Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God. The first time I opened it, I said, forget about it. No. I opened it again. It was again another no. Then I opened it again. I couldn't close it. The time was right. It's always about timing. And my big takeaway were two things. It's not that we got it wrong, that it's not about having, being, and doing, or having, doing, and being, but it's always about being. It's about being love, about being happy. It's the state of being that is the foundation of everything else. Having is physical, being spiritual, foundational. And for me, that was it. It clicked. And that became the structure of my course. And then it led to the book, because I thought the book is more available to many, many more people than a course. And courses can be very, very draining. I don't know. It's sort of, I don't know. It's good, and it's also a little bit challenging. But books are just beautiful. You open it and you get pulled into it. So I decided to write the book after I taught it. And that made it more relatable. When you teach it and you get feedback, you understand more what people are taking away from it and what they're challenged by. So that was really the foundation for it.
Thank you for sharing that. And I just love it. Like, if I can read some of it here, we live in a time which we've replaced emotions with emojis. And that is so, so true. Traded real events for relevant hashtags, totally. And I love this bit, and become emotionally as flat as our devices. I mean, seriously, if you can't describe, well, that describes our current world to a T.
Yeah.
And it's so true now. It is so true. So what else is in your book? What's the readers going to get from reading your GPS to happiness?
It's a journey within. It is going within. It is, everything starts with the self. And I start with know thyself. The ancient Greeks wrote that over the oracle in Delphi. Know thyself. How much wiser can it get? Because if you don't know who we are, if you don't know what we want, then where are we going to? Who do we think we are? And so many of us fear if they look within what they may find. The one thing that we will find is so much bigger than we can only imagine, so much more powerful than we can ever imagine. So it starts within learning to love ourselves, accept ourselves for who we are, and also figuring out what we, and only we, want from our lives. Not what we're told by society, what our friends and family think, but us.
Yes. Yeah, and it's so true because we tend to depend on other people to tell us, to give us guidance, to tell us what to do. Excuse me, sorry. It's 5 o'clock in the morning here, and my voice is a little bit dry. And that's so true. We listen to other people instead of following our own guidance.
Yeah.
We listen to other people. We don't go on that GPS. And if I can just relate another thing to you, Marina, that's coming to me now. I've done lots of travelling in my life. I've been on lots and lots of road trips, and I follow guidance from the universe about where to go. And I've been taken on some amazing places by following that, and very rarely using, the physical GPS, but the internal GPS. But that's on external trips. Isn't it amazing when we follow that internal GPS?
I love that you say that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we can only go on that trip though when we surrender.
Yes.
When we let go of this intense feeling of I must control everything, the white knuckling. Ooh, if I lose control, then I lose everything. No, we gain everything. But it's only when we have this trust, this certainty, and this knowing that we are safe. 100% safe. And when we let it go, magic happens. Absolute magic, beauty, gifts come to us. It's amazing.
Yes.
And you know that.
Yes. Well, yes, and thank you, and yes, I do, because when we do surrender into that guidance, then we're living a life on purpose. Mm-hmm. And when we live a life on purpose, this is what I experience. Believe when we're living our life on purpose, we're just always happy. Like, it's an internal happiness. We can go through stuff, absolutely, because it's part of life, it's part of growing. We're going to have continual challenges, because without those, I think life would be boring. But there's still that internal happiness and that internal power.
Yeah, indeed. Can you imagine you go to a movie and nothing happens? The entire movie, nothing happens? That's life.
Yes.
How boring would that be if we didn't have an up and down? And it would go against the rhythm of the universe. It's the up and down. It's the up and down. Yeah, and if it fails, then we're dead. If that's it, man. It's like this, we're dead. I don't want to live a dead life. It's just go with the flow, go with the journey, because the journey is the whole thing. It's not arriving. It's the going, the movement. And when we do that in joy and this inner happiness, because you said it perfectly, it's that inner happiness. And then whatever, no matter what happens to us, around us, for us, we go through it with grace and certainty, faith, trust.
Wonderful. Now, I didn't ask you this beforehand, so I'm just assuming, do you have your book with you? Let's have a look of your GPS to happiness. Wonderful.
Yes.
How to navigate from where you are to fulfillment, prosperity, and the life of your dreams. Thoroughly recommend people getting it. We will be putting the links in the comments as soon as we finish our conversation. I have my book, and I'm going to put it on the list for, we have a uplifting book club as part of our community, And I'm certainly going to put it on the list there and recommend that we all read it because, like we've just been talking about, it's the foundation to life. When we are happy, everything becomes easy, even in the challenges, even with
Yeah.
the challenges. They're
Yeah.
not. It's not a struggle
No, it's not,
and
and
stuff.
everything comes to us. Let's not forget the other law. That's the law of attraction. We attract what we think of all day long. If we
Yes.
focus on worry, we get more worry. If we focus on joy, not only does it make the moment that we are in better, but it brings us what we focused on as well. Law of attraction, which includes action. Without action, nothing happens, which is my second part, the doing. The doing, but do it with joy. Do it with just an anticipation and enthusiasm of the future that you paint, the image that you hold in your mind, envision. Then you know where to go to.
Absolutely. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if I can ask you, Marina, I think you may have already answered it, but let's just see, maybe there's something else. What would be your best tip for making the world a better place?
Simple. Change your thoughts.
Change your
If
thoughts.
when we change our thoughts, when we change our thoughts to upliftment, when we change them to higher vibrations, when we love ourselves, we change the world around us. The energy changes. We change the energy around us, our auras. We emit it out and it comes back to us. But it goes everywhere. And that is in some magic ways that we don't understand yet. Brings us to a higher dimension. That's where we want to be in. And that changes everything, our environment, physical and spiritual. It changes everything. It changes our life and the world. My tip.
And it's so true. It's so true because we don't realize how powerful our thoughts are.
Yeah. We haven't
And
even begun to understand that.
stand
Yeah.
up, yeah, yeah. And even if it's just by changing one thought,
Yeah.
the difference that it can make.
Yeah.
That it is. So thank you so very much for sharing that and for coming and telling us about your book. I said for everyone who is watching, I'm here chatting with Marina about the GPS for happiness, which Marina might hold up again for us. We will put all the links in the comments very soon. So that is available on Amazon.
Yes, it is.
Yes, as a Kindle, as a downloadable, and as a real book.
Yes,
Yes,
indeed.
yeah, yes.
Two versions.
I've got my version. I've got the Kindle, which is really wonderful. And I said we will read that for our book club, and I've started to read it. That's why I love the part that, that we really have replaced our life with technology. Technology it's supposed to make our life easier, which it has in one way.
It
Certainly made
has.
our it has.
And we cannot go underneath that rock anymore and hide. We have to embrace our
Grace,
technology. But let us not be abused by it. It's just
yes,
a slight difference between the two.
exactly, and let it not take over our lives.
Right.
And replace the real events, replace
Yeah.
those real emotions and stuff. And I just love it that we become emotionally as flat as our devices. I love that because it's so true. So it's just getting back and finding that inner GPS, following the GPS to experience our internal happiness. So thank you ever so much for
Thank you so
joining us
much.
today.
Thank you, Sophia.
Yeah, and you have a beautiful and happy day.
Thank you. You too, Sophia.
Not a problem.
Take care. Bye bye.